Hello and welcome to the debate. I'm your host Sana Makul with you at PTV World. And in today's show, we will be taking a look at, of course, some very important developments, something that, of course, was a lot politicized, speculated, and talked about for quite some time now. And finally, we see that a lot of the questions that everybody kept on debating about now seem to be answered. We have the decision coming out from the Prime Minister as well with regards to him picking the people who are going to be, of course, the very new important appointments in the army. And of course, there was a lot of development with regards to what the president's role will be in this regard and what sort of an action will be taken by him. And of course, the government also kept on talking about a plan B if the actions are not in line with the constitution. But fortunately, that did not happen. So the Prime Minister has picked Lieutenant General Asim Munir as the new Chief of Army Staff and Lieutenant General Sahir Shamshad Mirza as the new Chairman, Joint Chiefs of Staff Committee. And that, of course, is an important development, the summary of which was given to the President and he signed it off. Earlier, the President also had a meeting with the PTI Chairman, Imran Khan, and the statements coming out even then were that whatever decision is going to be taken will be in line with the Constitution. And of course, we saw earlier, of course, coming in from the PTI's leadership and the PTI Chairman himself, a lot of talk with regards to the appointment of the new army chief, the fact that the incumbent government is somebody who's, of course, imported. A lot of this, of course, rhetoric is now being taken back by the PTI chairman, but this is what was happening in the past with regards to this particular appointment. And then, of course, the only motive behind these appointments is going to be corruption or being able to protect themselves from the rule of law, which obviously made no sense with the appointments of the army chief and, of course, other appointments within the institutions, since, of course, that is something that already has a procedure and is already done on merit. And so that is what the government earlier had also decided to do, to nominate the Chief of Army Staff and the CJCSC according to the seniority, which of course is what has happened. And the entire PDM, of course, is also behind this. And the President also took an important decision. So we're going to be taking a look at these developments and also trying and analyzing that in terms of what is going to apparently happen on the 26th of November as well, with regards to the long march and the calls by the PTI chairman to Hakiki Azadi March, much of it, of course, also pointed towards this very important announcement. So now, of course, since we have this already in line, what really is going to be the objective forward, or what is going to be the foundation on which that is going to be built. And then, of course, in terms of supporting the constitution, supporting the progress of the country, what role will the PTI play moving forward as well, and how important today's decisions have been in this regard. So these are some of the elements that we're going to be focusing in, of course, also taking a closer look at these appointments and the people within this as well. For this and more, as always, in the studios, I've been joined by senior analyst Farooq Batafi, and we've also been joined by our guest, Ms. Shama Junaid, who's a political scientist, columnist, and consultant. We've also been joined by Barrister Safiullah Ghori, who's a legal expert, and Brigadier Retired Haris Nawaz, who's a senior analyst. Thank you very much for everyone for joining us and being a part of the debate. But let me start with you, Brigadier Haris, considering this is an important development. And of course, like I said earlier, a lot was being talked about with regards to these appointments and these names. And we saw, of course, that the PTI side also kept on mentioning this as well. Something later they denied and talked about in terms of not really having any sort of preference. But again, this unfortunately, because of what had happened in the past, had become slightly controversial with regards to how everyone was talking about it or how the public was also viewing this matter. But in line with what has happened, considering the seniority that was respected, considering the constitution and procedure that was respected, what do you make of today's developments, these particular appointments, and of course the role that has been played by the president?
Sana, first of all, I would say there was a lot of speculations, confusion, and we say that when it fares well, when it ends well. And God, thanks God, that everything I think went very smooth. And government took a right decision because they decided to promote number 1 and 2 in seniority, and they're all competent and professional. I know them very well. It's been a very good choice, and we pray that now let's hope this all uncertainty goes out, and then we move towards progress. Number 1. Second is that there should be
Hmm.
no confusion. I was surprised with normal routine procedure, and it is 5 6 names assigned to Minister of Defense. The Prime Minister of Pakistan setting always selects the one who he likes, and then of course that is done finally. And both are very good choice. General Asim Munir is a very professional soldier. He has achieved all the milestones which are required in the army, and he has been a very sensitive appointment like DGMI. Then, of course, he was in DGISI. He has commanded a core,
Hmm.
and then he was now a Corpsman General. Likewise, Al Sahir Shamshad has been also very decorated soldier. And he has been a DGMO, he's been a BCGS, he's been a CGS, he's been commanded a core. So he has all done. So very experienced officer, but they have been promoted in very challenging conditions. We have to see and we pray that they come out with high chest and they prove worthy of it. And
Hmm.
I'm sure there will be no doubt about it. But then now is the time we have to see that after we played very maturely by the civil government, how they played, because army said we are apolitical, and they were the two senior officers were also present in the core commander conference that the decision was taken. That means it has the consent of these two officers and other core commanders, and that is it. I'm sure it will be honored as well. Therefore, now is the time the civil political
Hmm.
government has to mature more maturely, so that they don't create any embarrassment for the military establishment. So it means
Right.
opposition and government, they have to sit down, find a best solution out of it before 26th of November, so that things start stabilizing, and political stability means economic stability. So that is what I say, okay, now
Before
is
the
the time
26th of
we look
November, is
forward.
that even a possibility, Harisa? Brigadier Sahib, is
Sana,
that even a
definitely, you
possibility
see,
before the
Sana,
26th?
what I personally think is the responsibility of the
Okay.
sitting government. They have to ensure property and life of people of Pakistan are protected, political temperature is down, and there is no harm to give a national call, therefore the dialogue by the sitting government. They say, okay, we are open to all discussions. It can be political, it can be economical, it can be
Hmm.
elections. Whether Imran Khan accept or not, that onus lies on him. But government will be on a moral ground that they tried, at least they give a peace a chance. And that is what very, very important before there is any problem. Because if even 50,000 people get together in Faizabad, and some trigger happy police person or some extremist element or some anybody create problem, and then things go out of hand. So that situation should not happen. That is what
Hmm.
our enemy, they want a clash between the forces and also the people of Pakistan, and that should be our last resort. We must give peace a chance.
Right, absolutely. And that is, of course, something that was expected. But unfortunately, a lot of that did not happen in the past. But moving forward, of course, these question marks remain. Ms. Sharma, considering what has happened earlier with regards to how these statements coming in from the PTI have continued to politicize the institutions, continue to talk about the sanctity of the institutions, and even, of course, the post of the Chief of Army Staff. And that, of course, has created an impact on the way that the entire perception around these appointments or, of course, these institutions exist. And that, of course, is very, very damaging and something that all political leaderships must be accountable for, even if they're not sitting in the government at the moment. And so, considering the kind of actions and statements we've seen coming in from the past, what you make now moving forward would be the way that the PTI is going to go ahead with regards to the institutions. Now that this appointment is already in place, what sort of an angle are they going to be taking in? Because as far as the appointment is concerned, the president did what he had to do.
Hi, Sana, and hello, everyone. The thing is this, that what PTI has done is unprecedented. I don't remember any appointment of any chief which had been politicized like Imran did. And the thing is this, that it was not, he did not only make it national crisis, but it became headline of international media, which was concerning and sometimes embarrassing for us, that where we are going. And when I would contact my PTI friends, they would like want answer, because in PTI, Imran is the authority, and nobody questions his knowledge or
Hmm.
whatever he says. So it became like a chaotic uh, uh, mm, procedure. And since last year, the chaos continued, but it was thriving his politics because it's like a populist politician's success is in chaos and anarchy. So he successfully executed it. Now, when finally, today everything is settled, even though the president, being the supreme commander of forces and being an apolitical personality, he went in prime minister's aeroplane to Imran, and he just satisfied his ego. But however, the thing is this: we have to move forward. But how can we move forward when Imran is adamant and he's not talking to anyone, he is not listening to anyone? So you cannot move forward if one faction is at frozen state and causing trouble. So I even tweeted today that okay, whatever happened has happened, but we are suffering. Yesterday we had a very notorious statement from India. Our economy is in shambles, and there are so many factors around that we have to now concern on other factors. We do not have any gas in country, and there winter is coming over there. We have flooded areas, and there is no the flood rescue operations are not sufficient. So there are so many factors that we have to think, and our civil society, our press, we all became hostages of Imran's narrative, and he successfully kept us engaged only on the matter of like either his long march or the appointment of chief.
Right, absolutely. And that is, of course, unfortunate. And we do expect a lot more in terms of the way that the accountability in political leadership is going to move forward. Barrister Safi, considering that whenever we take a look at this particular appointment, and of course, the way that it has been talked about, it was an obvious concern, of course, that whatever is going to happen is going to be based on merit, is going to be based on the procedure and the constitution. And gladly, that is what has happened. And so it makes it even more questionable to try and understand why it's being made so controversial. But I want to ask more with regards to the impact that this is going to have on the political dynamic moving forward, considering, of course, that we have the long march that is intended by the PTI chairman. And it seems that even then, when we take a look at these particular appointments and the statements coming in from the institutions, that they no longer want to be part of the political dynamics within the country, somehow or the other, the leadership or the opposition seems to drag it back into this. How do you think moving forward will that be tackled with, considering that the new leadership is now in place?
I think, as has rightly been pointed out by the preceding guests, this was a very important appointment, and also, very unfortunately, the most controversial army chief appointment Pakistan has ever seen. I've personally never heard of any particular army chief appointment that had this much of a hue and cry about it. Now, the fact that it has happened according to the Constitution under Article 243, the fact that all laws were followed, and the fact that a variety of steps were followed, like for instance, the retention under Army Act Rules 255. All of these things suggest that for once, law is being given due weightage, and law is also being given due weightage by the other institutions like the parliament and like the military itself, and everything is not going straight to the Supreme Court. Because we all know that there was a lot of hue and cry about the kind of crisis that could have happened. There was a lot of talks about how perhaps the appointment of the army chief would be delayed because the president would refuse to sign it, and then we would have no option but to take the matter to the Supreme Court in case somebody retires in between.
Right.
And so all of these things signal to me that for once law is being followed, the rules and regulations are being followed. Everything that has happened so far has happened as per law. Even if we were to go back to the dismissal of Imran Khan's government under the vote of no confidence, that was a perfectly legal thing. I mean, and nobody can disagree with the spirit of the Constitution and the law. And since then, we have seen a string of cases, a string of judgments, a string of actions by all political parties, wherein it is being followed to the spirit and to the letter. And if all of this happens, your question about what's going to happen to Imran Khan's long march, I think it becomes very doubtful, because the entire reason why this long march is being done, this Hakiki Azadi long march, is to free Pakistan from the shackles of injustice and to free Pakistan from what he claims is a series of violations of laws and justice and whatnot. And of course, Imran Khan has been the only politician who has come out and individually named army officers, named them, and made the institution of the army controversial. And now that a decision has been taken, I think the public wouldn't see why the PTI should be supported now that the president, that is one of PTI's members, has gone ahead and signed the appointment of the army chief, and the PTI itself has not said anything as yet, at least, that makes this appointment controversial. So that's the first thing. That's at least half of their Azadi March. And of course, then the second aspect, Sana, is the fact that because laws are being followed, therefore Imran Khan's strange demand that early elections be held would not have much weightage either. Elections would come at their due time, just like the appointment of the army chief was done at the due time. Everything has its own time, and I think those timelines
I understand that.
On that fatalistic note.
Right, and I want to ask a little bit more about that.
I would hope so.
And Farooq, you can add to that, but let me just ask you a question, Farooq, also, and then perhaps you can add if you have more questions. But considering what has been said before by the PTI chairman, and I understand the last statement with regards to not caring about or not having any sort of preference with regards to the army chief was there. But considering all of what has happened in the past, within this long march, how will this now trickle into the conversation or the statements coming in from the PTI side or the PTI chairman's side, considering now that these appointments have been made, the names are out there? Will this be discussed? As Barrister Safi was saying, names were taken before. Will this be part of the conversation? Since, of course, the people have been rallied on this basis also at one point. So will this not even be a point in the conversation?
Right, Sana, and that is an excellent question, but I want to, with your permission, actually clear the deck, so to speak, because so much has been said and I have been very patiently waiting for my turn. Let me first of all congratulate Barrister Safi for the use of one very hyperbolic term, most controversial appointment. I think he hasn't read the history of Pakistan per se. There was such an appointment called of an army chief called General Ziauddin Butt, and there was another time when General Karamat's appointment was so delayed and there was so much controversy in the country that eventually one of the editors I knew went with the headline in Urdu, only one word headline, that was Karamat, miracle. Right, so that means that this is nothing new in Pakistan. Why does it feel that controversial or painful? Because not only PTI is trying to actually politicize it, but our punditry chose this time to go crazy. And honestly, I haven't seen a more disgraceful commentary coming from various quarters throughout these weeks, repeatedly, where people are actually playing one person against the other, and then they're saying that this might happen, then creating so much panic, Sana. Even last night, there was this talk of the president actually delaying it and somehow things falling apart. But finally, we saw that the system actually held together. It prevailed, and we have the new army chief and new chairman joint chief of staff committee. So what does it tell you? That the system of this country has endurance, it has capacity, and all this noise that we create is useless and it is counterproductive. 33 million of this country are still displaced because of floods. There is an economic crisis which doesn't seem to go away no matter what you do. The neighborhood of this country's environment, particularly with its neighbors, is also very strange. Something keeps on happening. And yet our entire punditry, 50 channels and Vlogosphere and so many other people, all were obsessed about only one appointment. I don't understand why. I understand that democracy thrives in transparency, through transparency. But this time the purpose is not democracy itself. everybody is actually trying to hint that they are more powerful or influential because they know who is going to be the army chief, and that is by default the most powerful position in the country. So that's why they just want to actually establish their own bona fides. My continuous contention, I repeatedly when I appeared on television, I kept on saying, I'm not going to speculate on names, and you be my witness, and you tell us whether I have ever volunteered a name, because it is not my job. Whosoever is going to be army chief, army has actually made this statement that it is going to be neutral. When it has said that it is going to stay away from politics, I think I should help it rather than further politicizing their highest appointment. Regarding Imran Khan Saab and his point of view, Sana, I think that their narrative has been actually falling apart bit by bit, and it has today totally collapsed. And regarding President of Pakistan, I think he did the right thing in approving the summary, but I was saddened that somehow he was asked to come over to Lahore, and before approving the summary, there must be some kind of indication or some kind of messaging going on. So that was, I thought that as we discussed yesterday, the office of president is supposed to be apolitical, and he is by default the head of the country. So shouldn't have done it, but that is me. I think Imran Khan Saab will try to reinvent his narrative, but I think it is too late for that.
Sana,
All right. And thank you for that. Ms. Chama, yes, go ahead.
Yeah. I would like to talk on rumor factory, actually. I was actually shocked because I'm in London and I'm not there, but the names, the big names, they all were part of a bizarre race that who is going to be the chief, and the summary thing. There were like rumors which I regret to say that nobody cared to verify. I was like amongst very few who would consult Pindi or Khwaja Asif himself or the Prime Minister office about the summary matter and my all tweets or the programs I participated in those in that week are on record. However, I want to ask a question that do not we carry shouldn't we carry some ethical responsibility being journalists or being media persons? uh, we all were part of that hype. So here I agree with Farooq that it's not only Imran Khan who created the chaos and the hype and like sensation, but we all became the term I used, that we became the hostage of his narrative, but we also ignited the rumor factory. Now the democracy thing, how democracy can be questioned when it was not even allowed to be practiced. In a democratic parliamentary system, prime minister is the authority. But did you notice the statements of Imran Khan that I will not allow Nawaz Sharif to bring his army staff, army chief, or Zardari's army chief? I mean, when the prime minister has full prerogative to appoint the chief, why you are creating this all chaos? Like I said, that we became a joke in international community and in international media, and it was really embarrassing for us when my journalist friends who work here for CNN or Sky News, they would like contact me and ask about the updates about this summary matter. That is the summary gone? Is the summary gone? And I would say just follow my tweets, but I cannot guarantee about others' tweets because I have my own ethics and I follow my own ethics. This is what I at least could do.
Right. Right, absolutely. And that's a very valid point, of course. And also, in terms of what the public would believe or would internalize, it's important, of course, to understand and be able to deconstruct whatever information is being received. But, of course, in terms of what has happened and what has been discussed in the past, Brigadier Haris, Farooq Ali has talked about how perhaps the institutions need to be helped, in fact, to stay out of the political dynamic and not dragged back into it. And that's important. Of course, a lot of things that have happened since the start of this year to now are encouraging, even though it may not seem to, considering the kind of controversies that have spread around. Starting from the no confidence motion to these appointments, they have followed a democratic constitutional process. And because of that, of course, it's important for the public also to understand that this is something happening in line with these rules. But however, like I said earlier, the political leadership has in the past also dragged the institutions within the political dynamic. How exactly can that even be ensured? Because from the institution side, it is very clear the kind of decision that they have made or what they would want to do. But at the end of the day, as we have seen, up till now, with regards to this particular post also becoming so controversial, and the other incidents in the past as well, how exactly will that be prevented in the future?
Sana, first of all, I talk about media. You see, the point is, now media created the most of the hype about appointment of chief army staff. For the last 1 month, I didn't see any other topic being discussed in the media houses. Everybody is talking army chief appointment, when the somebody is going to come. Okay, now it has reached to Ministry of Defense. What is going to happen? Did any media house or a media person they spoke about the price hike in the country, economic crisis? We are already on $8 billion foreign exchange. Nobody talked about. That is
We
what
did.
we are should be very worried about it. Of course, I understand Pakistan Television has been doing a lot job on this
No, no, I'm just saying.
aspect.
No, no, I understand your point. Yes.
So now the point is, when military establishment has said that we are very political, then Bajwa, while going in last address, he said, and then two gentlemen who have been promoted now, and they're part of the system, and they were the corps commanders. So let's see and assume the army and establishment is very particular to remain out of politics. Then now it is the main responsibility of political leadership, whether it is opposition or is the government, that they have to improve their governance. They have to deliver to the people of Pakistan. They have to gain the confidence of people of Pakistan, so that even the people, they don't start looking towards now military establishment. And like PTI has said, with the change of leadership, you expect that the election will be held early. I mean, that is not the job of military leadership. So they have to fight political battle in political means. That is very important. And that has been missing link in our politics. Because they're used to looking towards establishment and then they start working around it. Military is out of it. Let me assure you, military will not come into these actions. Even anything is happening in after say 26 November, military should be give very clear instructions and told that we will not come in this way, because that is what is the design of the enemy. In Fifth Generation War, they have realized that the confidence of Pakistan army and people of Pakistan, they want to create a wedge between it. They want to weaken the army, and that's what they found, that since military had done with professional efficiency, and of course they had defeated the enemy narrative, enemy could not do it, and we have eliminated terrorism from country. So they feel that now military has to be weakened, and that's why they can control whatever they have their own design and narrative. So that is the job of the media
Right.
and our politicians. Now is the time we see, and I'm very hopeful that we
Right,
should be able to
and
find the
I
solution.
understand that. Okay.
Um,
Let me talk a
um,
little bit about the narrative part
sorry,
as well.
sorry,
Barrister Safi, of
sorry
course,
to
in the
interrupt.
past,
Uh,
yes, Ms. Sharma,
Sana, sorry
go
to
ahead.
interrupt. Sorry to interrupt. I'm so sorry, but there is a short comment
Go ahead.
about fifth generation war. The fifth generation war project actually bounced back. I don't want to go in detail, but all those warriors who were supposed to fight the war against the enemies of Pakistan, they actually targeted the military itself. Now, the thing that I also tagged ISPR so many times, especially particularly DG ISPR, on PTI's false propaganda. I myself contacted Pindi concerned authorities about their lies. They were continuously spreading lies, and the propaganda was when Bajwa Sahab met President Alvi. So now there could have been a formal meeting because he is leaving, but narrative from PTI was executed to media that the only agenda of the meeting was elections. Now I raise the questions that how on earth president who is a non-political and a constitutional entity meeting a chief who is going in next week, and how he can promise that his successor will promise about the elections. Therefore, I tagged ISPR. I asked them, and they said that it was not the agenda, and they are lying. But the thing is, this they shouldn't have answered me only, because I'm not their spokesperson, and not so many people
Right.
follow me. They all follow the popular, but the untrue and the propaganda narrative. So my issue here was that the ISPR was too modest to counter their lies. They should have been on an aggressive mode, or there should have been some instant replies or instant some one tweet that this thing is absolute lie.
All right. With due respect, I will
Right, absolutely.
respectfully disagree only with one thing. That ISPR shouldn't be actually immediately rising to every
Absolutely,
occasion
I
and speaking,
agree with
because
you.
then
I
it
agree
becomes
with you.
you dignify the question or attack
And you become
through
party
your
to its
response.
party to
I think the better thing was that the way DGISI and DGI actually spoke to the media, that was better way to actually quash all the rumors. But go ahead, Sana, over to you.
Right, Farooq, you already asked the question that I was asking, so I'm glad we have that connection. But let me go to Barrister Safi with the previous part that I was going to explore with regards to the narratives as well, in terms of what the public has perceived and what it seems to believe is the truth. Of course, there can be counter narratives and measures taken in various forms, not just through the ISPR, but through other means, and of course to have one's own narrative as well in terms of what's going on. That sort of a play, of course, had been done by the PTI and has also resulted in them having their followers and the popularity that everybody keeps on mentioning. But I want to understand if currently we stand somewhere where there are a lot of opinions with regards to the institutions. There are people who, of course, believe in what the PTA has been saying, believes perhaps that the institutions are not as apolitical as they're claiming. And so when we take a look at these sort of beliefs and the way that the people now are viewing the institutions as well, how exactly can that aspect be tackled and dealt with? I understand that the statements coming in or the actions coming in from the institutions are reiterating the fact that they're not a part of the political dynamics, and neither do they want to be. But what about the so many followers who have already thought it to be true otherwise?
Sana, honestly, a fantastic question. And I was just discussing this a little while ago with a gentleman right outside the PTV building. So in my opinion, and this is of course a very personal opinion, PTI is a house of cards that is built on an edifice of imaginary perceptions that they've created. Now, if we were to just go back a couple of years, we'd see that PTI managed to gather all this gravitas amongst the public that it has now. We see a lot of people, die-hard followers of PTI. How did they build up this perception of them being the right party, the patriotic party, the party that represents the honest people of Pakistan? They built it by consistently tapping into that patriotic nerve of the average Pakistani, which said that PTI and the establishment are on one page. PTI and the judiciary are on one page. PTI and the institutions of Pakistan are all on one page. PTI is the federal party. PTI is the party that represents Punjab and Balochistan and KPK and has a sizable presence in Karachi. This is the spin doctrine of PTI that went on for a very long time, and PTI used it to its benefit. PTI kept presenting itself as the only party that can save Pakistan from all of its problems, because it has all of these things, because it has the institutions, because it has the provinces, because it has this phenomenal team of people who will come and just sweep their magic wand and cure Pakistan's problems. And so this perception-based politics is what PTI has created. That's one of the reasons why we see PTI followers being sometimes very emotional, because their perceptions have led to their emotional reasonings overtaking their logical reasonings in many ways. And so this unfortunate use of perception is now working against PTI. From being honest, suddenly all these legal cases open up, the Tosha Khana case and the Shaukat Khana Memorial Hospital case and whatnot. There's this election commission, foreign funding matter. So first, that perception gets tarnished. Maybe Imran Khan is not as honest as we thought he was. Then, of course, before that, we'd already seen Imran Khan going on a head-on collusion with every institution of the country, naming and shaming people within the military, naming and shaming people within the judiciary, naming and shaming other parliamentarians, bureaucrats, whatnot. He has not left a singular institution untarnished by the use of extremely derogatory language everywhere. And so we now know that PTI, even if it were to come into power, would not have the support of the institutions, or at least that's what the perception of the public would be. I'm not saying that if for instance, PTI comes into power, the army would not support him. I'm not saying that. But an average PTI person would now think that. They would think, oh, we did not get a particular general that Imran Khan wanted. Now maybe the army is going to be against us forever. And this is self-defeating. This is going to cause breakings within their own ranks.
Right.
It is going to cause problem. And that magic team that we were talking about, this magic team that can supposedly cure all problems, that magic team is a team of electables. These electables have their perceptions. Now with their perceptions, they might believe that PTI is no longer the right party to stay in power. Who knows? It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, Sana. It's not like somebody would say something or do something and PTI would start breaking up.
Right.
But these people would start leaving PTI of their own accord, thinking, oh, maybe this is not the right party for us. Maybe we should go to People's Party or to PMLN. And that would continue to destroy PTI from within. Once again, only reason being, it's a perception-based party. It is not a party based on any fundamental ideology that it could have relied on that would have carried it through. That is the reason why PTI is falling, and that is the reason why it will continue to break.
Right, and Barrister Savi, that's an important point that you've raised, and Farooq, I'd like to take your input on that as well, considering the fact that may be a way to throw away any blame or any cause of concern if the PTI ever comes into power with regards to any aspect that goes wrong, that this is something, this is because the civil and military leadership are not aligned or not on the same page. We saw statements coming in of this alignment for 3.5 years, and that later we saw that it was said that there wasn't really any power that the government or the former Prime Minister had. So this, of course, is an important concern in terms of how the political dynamic will evolve, and I'd like your take on it as well. But also take in the question with regards to the media houses that were earlier being mentioned. I want to understand in terms of course, the kind of focus that there is on a certain story. I understand the impact that it's going to have, and that everybody is talking about the appointment of the army chief. But what exactly do the media houses do, or the options that they have in terms of what is being discussed or what is being politicized or what is being talked about on even social media platforms or otherwise, or is the news of the town, should that not be something that is covered, or should that be, how is that then not the point or the focus of the story?
Right, Sana, I think both are very important questions, and they actually speak to my soul as well, because I've been making noise about many of these things. Very quickly, before I talk about anything else, this supposed bad blood between PTI and country's establishment, let me tell you that in the country's history, there have been many occasions when there was some kind of disagreement, and yet the political leaders were in power and the system worked, right? At this moment, if Imran Khan Sahib is out of power, it is because he valued two people to whom he is beholden more than the entire system or entire democracy. One is in his personal life, and the other one in an institution. But regardless, whatever happens, my concern is only one, that the system will not take Imran Khan Sahib seriously. Because usually when you need a leader, you need a leader of the country that is actually, on an even keel. who doesn't actually take extreme steps and try to wreck the whole system. So this is my concern. It can be wrong. But regarding the plus points, and there are plus points of PTI as well, I understand that everybody wants to talk about patriotism, jingoism, or some other nerve that they might have tapped into. My concern is that at this moment in the political progression, the middle class and the working class did not find any other avenue, because all the butts in all the political parties are taken. There was one political party where you could have gone in and you could have found a place. So PTI stands because of that, because of the working class nature of its voters, and then some of its leaders as well. So there is a plus point. I hope that other political parties start reforming themselves and clearing berths for other younger lot as well, because at this moment the problem is we are on an escalator, we are going down, and the age level of our leaders is going up and up. Earlier it was 50s, then 60s, now 70s, and I hope that before it touches 80s, we have a reset. But that is what it is. Regarding the media, let me remind you what the media has done in past 1 month. And let me explain very quickly the psychology behind it as well. Next to GHQ is used to be a factory, Murray Brewery factory, right? And there was an inscription which read, "Next to the real thing." And they meant two things simultaneously, but they wanted to actually indicate also that they are next to the power center. So at this moment, every person who has been trying to prove that they knew who's going to be army chief actually wanted to prove that they are next to the real thing. They are so close to the real thing. But the problem is that if you want to be a democracy, then institutions have to reform. Then media also has to ask itself, why did we go this far? There have been senior pundits who have nothing to prove. Their careers are made. We know that they are giants of profession. They still had to actually come on television and start speculating. In the past 1 or 2 months, we have given multiple extensions to General Qamar Javed Bajwa, the outgoing chief. We have imposed martial law in the country. We have actually dug deep into the list of eligible journals, and we have even reached the 10th number. And all this speculation for nothing. Then last night, because there was an unfortunate misunderstanding regarding summary, the defense minister tweeted something, and then we saw that the summary has been moved. I saw one, senior anchor lambasting the defense minister and the political government, while actually their own speculations were falling apart, right? This is the sad nature of reality in this country at this moment. I can only urge, I can only beg the seniors in the profession, and no matter how senior you call me, I'm still a junior rookie. The senior ones should be begged to actually show some kind of, empathy for the system, because this country needs to move forward, and we have to stand with everyone. You can demoralize the army, but remember, even now the soldiers are dying to save your and my civil liberties. So we should be actually realizing what we are doing right now.
Yeah, Sana, I want to second
absolutely.
On that.
And unfortunately, that's all we have time for. But yes, Ms. Sharma, your last comments on this. Go ahead.
I want to second Farooq on that matter. That procedure is clear. If anybody would have bothered to read the procedure, that the summary is sent to MOD. That's the procedure. So when I wrote that summary Mosul, I did not write that it has gone to Prime Minister office. However, you must have seen that even the top news channels, they ran fake story. So then the defense minister has to clarify that it has not reached at PM office. And then again, the rumor factory like ignited that, they have lied and they are lying. So they all got upset. And then I again, I had to take a very unpopular but ethical route. And I explained that procedure is the summary has left GHQ, but it is at MOD, and because it's midnight, it will go to PM office in the morning, and then his staff will put forward on his table. So that is the procedure. But
Yeah.
I don't
Right.
know.
Yeah. Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Understood your point. Thank you very much, Ms. Chamma Chunejo, for joining us, and Brigadier Haris Nawaz, Basis Safiola, and of course, Farooq Batafi for being a part of the debate always. That's all we have time for. We'll see you tomorrow.